Hi, Linda, are you there? Linda, are you there? Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody live on Facebook and also on Zoom. Welcoming you to this wonderful session we're going to have with Mynoo today on the 12 building blocks of our human body. She's going to be talking about water and water part 2, actually, how we're going to purify, protect, and restore through the water elements. Mynoo is going to be sharing the 7 practices to purify, protect, and restore the originating intent of water. And also, we're going to be able to really see how we can leverage this knowledge of the water to transform the quality of your water supply anywhere and everywhere. So I'm really excited for this module, that she's going to be doing. I welcome everybody on Facebook and on Zoom. Hi, Linda. Hi, Sunny. Leah, Mary Catherine, Leilani, and Shoshana. Good to see you all here.
Good seeing you too. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So we're going to really, was talking with Mynoo, and we're really excited about this module on water and how we can just really flow with the water and get some really good. Hi, Mynoo.
Hello.
We have a wonderful group today, and we're just really getting excited to hear about water. So I can let you know what we're going to be doing today is water part 2, how purify, protect, and restore through the water. And Mynoo is going to share the 7 practices to purify, protect, and restore the originating intent of water. We're really going to see and explore how we can leverage this knowledge to transform the quality of water supply anywhere and everywhere in our lives. So I'm really excited. Before the call, I was just saying that we were really talking about how we're going to really flow during this water segment, and the transmission is going to be really powerful. So thank you, Mynoo. Really excited to be hosting tonight and welcoming all our guests.
Thank you, Dea. And remember, this is an interactive session. So Dea is representing an archetype of everyone who is listening to it today, as well as those that listen to it online, as well as on YouTube. So any questions that come to you, any clarifications that you require, Dea, you can just put your hand up and I will at the right point interrupt and bring you in. If any of you listening have got a question, put it in the chat. So then Dea can be pulling that together for us.
Yes, please. Yes, definitely. Please do that so we can get our questions answered. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's begin. So the first thing, as a reminder, this is a part of the 12 building blocks of our human body. And, we have done a session which introduced these building blocks. And we began very specifically with the building block of food as our medicine. And we did a number of sessions on that. And today we are going into water. Today is the second of the 3 sections that we have on water. Last time we discussed the hidden powers, sources that are hidden in water, and how do you access them. Today we are going to go into into rectifying a problem that we experience with water in terms of its purity, in terms of its ability to protect us, and how do you restore all of that in water. So the first practice is why. The why practice. The why practice is why water. Why water is a building block. Okay, given that a lot of us, at least 70% on average of us is water, and some parts of our being are 90% water. I get that. What is the role of water in full spectrum wellness? So, but the way I do these sessions is, I allow myself to receive the wisdom that is wanting to come through, and then I put it into practice for myself, so that when I'm ready to share it with you, I'm able to share really practical examples and stories of my own experience of working with this. So the role of water in full spectrum wellness. So when I looked at, okay, full spectrum wellness is we are thriving on all cylinders: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. So if I look at the role of water in terms of our physical cylinder, it actually doesn't take that long from the time that we feel we are thirsty to actually start feeling discomfort. I also saw, as I was looking at all the different organ systems that make up our physical body, that there's a very important organ system, which is to do with the brain, that our mind brain, it's at least 90% water. It literally is a tiny thing like a walnut with markings on it. And it is water that gets those markings activated. The water is actually the fluid that gets the electricity flowing through the neurons that are already there in a brain. So if this is what water does to the brain, you can imagine the impact it has on pretty much all of our organs and all of our systems. We already know what water does to our excretory system. You have a dehydrated colon, it'll be very difficult for stuff that requires to leave your body to leave your body. Or if you have too much water, it puts tremendous stress on your kidneys. This why practice is a really important one, because here I'm giving you some generic stuff. I always like to make these things very up close and personal, because it is that up close and personal which allows us to be self-motivated in a regenerative way to take some practical action around water. We already know, however thirsty you may be, if you're actually looking at water that doesn't look that appealing, that there's something off with it, it would take a lot for us to drink it. But that brings in the mental state. So that's our thinking. The mental state is your thoughts. If there is water that is flowing and the sunlight just falls on it and it starts to sparkle, you're drawn to just putting your hand in and drinking it, or putting your hand in and just splashing your face. It really does transform your thinking. Given that so much of our brain is water, then you experiencing a state of mental centeredness comes from water. So it has a direct impact at a global level. Well, I guess I'll come to that in the social dynamic space in a moment. If I was to look at, so for me, I felt, even though actually the amount of water I drink now, I used to follow this regimen, based on your weight, you multiply that by a certain fraction, and that's the number of liters of water you're meant to have. That's something that I read somewhere. And I would force myself to plug it down, and especially if I haven't had time to drink water during the day. And I realized how much pressure I was putting on my kidneys. And I was relying only on water as water. to hydrate myself. Now I just drink a sip at a time and really allow my body to experience the absorption of this hydration. And that's a mental thing as well. So physical action combined with mental really gets you into a state of flow. Because water is, as an element, it's one of the elements. And as an element, its job is to wash away the debris and bring flow. So when I sip it at a time, I'm really connecting to water as an element. In India and in Bali, those of you who've been with me to Bali, and some of you have been to India as well, where, when you go to the temples or you do a particular prayer, there is water plays a very important role as one of the elements. And after the prayer is done, the priest gives you like only a few drops of water in your hand, and you're supposed to just sip it in and put it over your hair. Now, why just a little sip? It makes a huge difference. Because when you connect to water like this, in just a sip at a time, you're actually connecting to water as an element. And it performs the role of an element, which is, it gets you to be in flow. It washes away your debris. The emotional state. And we're going to look at other practices. You can infuse water with certain emotions. So as you're drinking it, that emotional state starts to spread, because water by its very nature is going to flow in your system. Water also has this quality of evaporating. It's not just solid that sits there. It evaporates. It is constantly in a state of exchange. Some of it evaporates, then it comes down. So if you wish to anchor any particular emotion in you, then water is the way to do it. Infuse the water with that emotion and you have it. There are times when, I was traveled the world for about nearly 4 years. Certainly 2.5 of those were very, very intense level of travels, where I was looking for solutionaries for the World Dignity Forum, where I was seeking those that have got solutions for some of the world's most pressing problems, pressing concerns. Desertification is one of those concerns. So when I traveled the world, there would be times where for hours on end, I would be on the road, going through villages, arriving at places where, there weren't any hotels, let alone 5-star hotels. There weren't necessarily even homestays, so I would stay in whatever the facility was that the solutionary had. Not all solutionaries had been discovered yet. So in terms of the emotional transformation within me, I didn't know that they would have filtered water. I didn't necessarily have something that would filter water to that extent. And I'm not one for dropping tablets into water to drink it. So I would literally take the water, that was being served, because it was being served with so much love, because these solutionaries had been, were being recognized and discovered to be shared with the world. There was so much gratitude there that all I had to do was to just allow that gratitude to seep into me. Not once. I've had Delhi belly in India, in big towns and cities, when I've been having, filtered water and stuff. But at no time I had any trouble with my digestive system as I was doing that. This is with benefit of hindsight, as I'm preparing to share the why practice with you, that I realize actually that is true. Right in the middle of the desert in Rajasthan, where this particular village had got together and restored its river. From desert, there's a big, humongous river flowing in this desert. These villages did this. There was nothing but just straightforward tap water or water in buckets that would be used to drink. And I drank it and nothing happened to me. I was full of vitality. So emotion you can transform by simply experiencing the emotion. And know that your body, you're at least 70% water. Most of you is water. The planet is at least 70% water. And you couldn't be sitting here if you weren't surrounded by water. We have more of our world, more beings exist in water and our water bodies than they do on just dry earth. So the multiplied effect of the emotion that you experience comes right back at you. So if you feel anger and frustration or upset, water brings flow with that. So you start flowing with anger, upset, and frustration. Then your body, your physical body starts to somehow cope with it. It starts to get inflamed. And you have a whole collection of other diseases that start to happen. Understanding the role of water in full spectrum wellness is foundational. Spiritual is connection to your spirit. And in that space, you connect to the spiritedness of others and the spirit of nature itself. Water, because it washes away the debris and brings flow. You can be intentional about having that flow be the connection to your spirit. Water flows in between places. It's very difficult to stop it. You have to work really hard, and water is still constantly corroding any blocks or obstacles that we may put in its way. And the moment it finds a tiny little space, it will flow there because its intention is to be in flow. It is totally unencumbered when it comes to flow. Can you imagine what a wonderful teacher water can be about having us be in flow with our own spirit and our spiritedness? So we have this amazing teacher that teaches us by doing and showing all the time. When we become oblivious to it, we don't get the benefit or advantage of it. Water knows everything is one. So you may be talking to your enemy. If there is water that is flowing, it is going to touch you as much as it's going to touch your enemy. It's totally non-judgmental, which is what happens when you're connected to the spirit of you. It's like judgment disappears. Social is the other cylinder in full spectrum wellness. Everyone talks about the Third World War and all of that. There has been a world war that's been going on for a while, and it is the water war. The water wars are happening even now. Social dynamics are impacted on account of water. The conflict, the Syrian-Turkish conflict, it has quite a lot to do with water. Many of the issues that we have in India with China, a lot to do with water. That's on the big, macro scale. At a micro scale, you heard me say this, at least certainly in India, when guests come, the first thing we do is we offer them water. I talked about this last time. It's a key ingredient to bring flow in social dynamic because it washes away the debris. So when water is offered to a guest, you're literally presencing the element of water. Intentionally, whether you are aware of it or not, you're washing away the debris and you're bringing flow in the dynamic. Environment. Water defines your environment. I used to use this thing, fish is to water as humans are to what? And I used to use language. But actually, a fish is to water as much as we are to water. We don't even realize that we are actually living, breathing, walking, floating beings in water.
Yeah.
And what made me realize this was finding these solutionaries that were capturing water from air, and it felt like arid air. And their view was, well, there is water. If you can survive in this space, there is water. Otherwise, you will be not only parched, you will burn, you'll be, your skin will break out, all sorts of stuff would happen in an instant.
Mynoo,
Yes.
I think, I mean, for me at least, like the fact that we're, I don't know how much percent water in our bodies, like is so profound that, you can't help but like just honoring water as an element, like at the highest level, just that alone to me,
Yeah.
do you feel like because we have the water in our bodies and the water all around us and the water gives us life, that's
it's
so
a phenomenal understanding, Dea. Our bodies are 70% water. The earth has 70% water. Hello. A little bit of a sign there.
a little bit. I'd say so.
So we are actually meant to be in flow. This is the most exciting part when I come to the environment piece, that actually, it's actually meant to be in flow. It's meant to be a collaborative co-creation of coexistence all the time, So this is the water world. This is the water world.
It's the water world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when you're flowing in the water and you hit something, like it just still moves. I mean, it's always moving and flowing. So yeah, it's such a great metaphor for our lives.
Yeah. And as an element, that is its role. Its role is to wash away the debris and bring flow. Remember, debris is being created all the time. Our cells die, new cells are born. That's just at a cellular level. There's debris that's created in terms of how we destroy each other, in terms of dysfunctional mental states and emotional outbursts and all that stuff. So water, the fact that we are powered with 70% water, there is this automatic regeneration of our physical bodies taking place anyway. We get intentional about it, really harnessing its secret powers, and then finding practical ways to purify and get it returned to its originating intent. You've got it. You're in flow all the time. Nothing can take you off from it.
So what I'm hearing you say is that our consciousness around the power and our own power and water and how we can really use it, we can really heal ourselves, all kinds of things,
all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. What we talked about last time, listen to it. If you're able to use that, you can literally, instead, if you've got pain somewhere, infuse the water with that power, the healing power to deal with that pain, and you dip your hand in and you rub it and it'll have that impact. It's pretty amazing. I actually learned this from my little grandson. I think kids remember this stuff. It was the 2-year-old who would do this. If he's hurt somewhere, he'll cry for a bit and get his attention, and then he'll go find water and take it and rub it there. And I would say, what is he doing? And lo and behold, now I know what he was doing. Okay, let's look at the second practice. I'm really loving the 12 building blocks series because it's so rich, each one of these, I have to sometimes rush to get through the 7. The second practice is count. What are you counting? You count your blessings. So, when I got this, I thought, okay, right. So I'm going to place this water that I'm going to drink, and I'm going to sit in front of it, and I'm going to count my blessings. Actually, you are water anyway. So you start counting your blessings. It's actually, you're transforming the water within you. You're creating a very healthy terrain inside you. Not only that, as you're breathing in and out, that water is exchanging with the water that you're surrounded with. So everything starts to fill with blessings. Now, what happens when you count your blessings? There is one consequence. There is only one consequence of counting your blessings. That is, you land in a state of bliss. So bliss abounds. Not only does it abound, water brings flow to bliss. And you can't but help it. Count more of your blessings. I just thought, wow, this is so cool. This is really bringing flow. You know, and we can always find something to feel blessed about, however difficult a situation you may be in. You know, you just have to be up close and personal. Begin counting your blessings from very close to you, and then go outwards. Like really counting your blessings in terms of how you feel, how you're feeling in terms of you're sitting comfortably. You've got your sensory, or you've got your eyes, you've got your nose, and you know, you've got this body, and you begin like that. It's like, well, how blessed am I that I have all of these things, regardless of whatever my experiences may be. You know, how blessed am I that I can think? How blessed am I that I can actually connect the dots? How blessed am I that I can actually put my mind and bring cohesiveness to anything? And how blessed am I that I have water that is naturally creating the terrain of flow in me? It's only up to my conscious awareness that I have to choose flow, and I can be flowing in my flow. And how blessed am I that that occurs? So when you start counting your blessings, actually, you can even just do that, as there are many of you here from the US. As you go into your dream state, count your blessings before you go, before you slide in. And your blessings will regenerate inside you. You can, and it's I would say it's one of the most non-violent, most exquisite, and the most loving way of transforming any negativity that you may be experiencing. Counting your blessings. Even if you are feeling negative, the fact that you can feel is something you're blessed with. There are many who've lost that connection. And what I find is, like, you know, Catherine and I used to do it, and now Dea and I are doing it, and Justin and I do it when we host these sessions. We do a VAC of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic envisioning of how this session is going to flow. And all we're doing there is we're just counting our blessings and acknowledging how we look visually, how do we sound in terms of words, and how do we feel. And as we are in that state, presencing ourselves to others, what do they look like, and what do they sound like, and what do they feel? We are doing this blessing exchange, the counting our blessings exchange. And the counting of blessing exchange literally makes it countless and limitless. So this practice transforms your terrain completely. Physically, you feel good. Mentally, you're in a state of blessings, like, oh my God, and you're connecting the dots, but these dots are connecting to blessings, those things that have occurred in your life that are blessing worthy. Emotionally, you're in a state of bliss. Spiritually, you're connected to the spirit of you, because water has washed away the debris now, it's brought in flow. Socially, you're in this wonderful state, appreciating and acknowledging everything that you feel so blessed with. Your environment inside you is non-acidic. Toxins have gone. And you're showing up in this beautiful state of bliss. And that in itself is transforming the environment around you. You become respectful, because as you continue the practice of counting your blessings, what if you did this at the end of every day, each day? dream state is a wonderful state because it removes any, this undue focus on the mind, and you go into a full spectrum state of being when you go into a dream state. So if you've counted your blessings as you've, moved forward into a dream state, that regenerates in an amplified way. I've started using this practice as I travel a lot, right? Holographically, when you are above 30,000 feet in the air, that holographically, that vibration expands very rapidly. So I'm up in the air, I do my beyond meditation, I get into this zone, and I'm counting my blessing. It's amazing, amazing.
I do that too, Mynoo.
Yeah, now that once we know it, it's totally worth engaging it, and it's such a fabulous game to play, counting our blessings.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. The third practice is feel. Feel into your flow. Water naturally brings flow to you. And if you allow yourself to feel into your flow, here you're getting to know what you are like when you are flowing. Now, where this becomes challenging, if I look at a full spectrum dimension to this, where it becomes challenging is when physically we feel strain or there's some pain or something has occurred physically, we don't feel in flow. It really does take over. I get that. Now, once you acknowledge that you're experiencing that, and then still the fact that you are water, there is some aspect of you that is flowing. Find it and feel into it. It literally becomes this very loving elder that holds your hand and takes you forward. You experience a sense of inner safety that you might not have experienced before. Now, where I experienced this for myself was, when I think the day we were doing our journey into miracles in Bali. Remember that photograph that you took?
Oh yeah. And then Mynoo had this huge light orb on top of her head. Posted it. Yeah. Unbelievable.
And that was just Dea's iPhone at the time that took that photograph. And there wasn't a big light or anything like that. It just literally covered my head. Now, that was the time my dad was sliding into making his journey of crossing over, which I found out after we finished the journey. Literally, after we finished the journey, all of you had left, and I went to the massage to have a massage, and I got a call from my sister. And she said, "Oh, just to let you know, Dad's in the hospital. He had this swelling on his feet, and we just thought we'll go and let that swelling be taken out of his system, and then we'll bring him back." And I said, "No, Dad's saying, I'm tired. I'm done with everything. I'm going." And I started crying. And my sister says, there's no point in telling you anything. You just start thinking about these negative things. I said, "No, Dad's communicating with me." And I said to her, "Go connect to Vibha, get her to fly in, and I'm flying in with Sai." And so my youngest sister was quite upset about it, but I just want to share how I use this particular practice to support me in that state. So at that point, I didn't feel in flow. It was like we had such a huge experience. And there, this particular situation had just occurred when nobody was believing me what was happening, and I could see what was occurring. So Sai and me, we got the tickets and we left. And as we were driving up to the airport, I chose to feel. And I chose to feel into my flow. And I found a very beautiful connection to my father, where he was crossing over part of him was on the other side and the other part was still in his human body. Like literally he was leaving. And he says to me, I had no idea that this is what love is. If I knew, I would have loved more. Don't ever forget that. The experience of love is where you are. I'm now going, and I will only have a fleeting glimpse of love. But I want to leave you behind with that feel of feeling. Your feelings is the feeling of love. And he was gone. Those are not the words my dad would ever use. But that experience arose because I chose to take notice. I am water. 70% of me is water. There has to be flow somewhere inside me. And I felt into it, and this wonderful connection just sprung open. We had a phenomenal celebration. I mean, there were hundreds of people that came, and people were like, crying and upset and stuff. My immediate family, I shared with them that, hey, Dad wants us to feel love, and everybody just laughed because it was a joke for Dad to want us to feel love. He wasn't like that. And I said, I guess he just wants us to find that love in our experience with him through laughter. So we just had so many jokes of our own experiences with him. And it was such a grand celebration. Because at that point, and Dea, you've experienced this recently, when you become an orphan, it doesn't matter what age you are. Nothing prepares you for that. It's like, even if you don't meet them often, they're just somehow always there. And the physical presence makes a difference. And here now my memory of my dad is all those moments of absolutely outrageous and hilarious laughter that he blessed us with. Even now, when we cousins get together, we can think of one or two incidents, just laugh our head off. Feel into your flow, because you are in flow regardless of what happens. The fact that you're 70% water, there is something flowing. And take my dad's words, when you feel the feel of your feelings, you are in love. And then find flow in that. The fourth practice that you can use is the practice of experience. And what are you experiencing? You experience aliveness. Experience aliveness. Now, water is, you heard me say this last time, water is an archangel, literally given the mission from the energy of God to be a carrier of the seed of life. So it is the carrier of the seed of life. We are each blessed with life. The fact that we are breathing, that is the gift of life. And water is the carrier of that, and it is flowing through your body throughout. So as you experience aliveness by choosing to live your life, whichever way you do that, you are experiencing aliveness, and you are enriching and water as the carrier of seed of life. You're literally purifying the water within you as you experience aliveness. Now, for this, what I did for myself, and this is what I would suggest you do, which is you look at, okay, let's look at aliveness in a full spectrum way. How does it show up for me physically? When I'm feeling alive, what am I physical doing? What's my physical demeanor? What kind of actions make me feel alive? Mentally, what does aliveness look like for me? But this way, you are actually reawakening the memory of implementing aliveness practically. Emotionally, what sort of emotions really bring me to life? Really bring that aliveness. Aliveness is regenerative. Life itself is you are breathing. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Does not regenerate. You just have to perform that action. Aliveness actually regenerates. It's a wonderful, thriving strategy where survival is taken care of. So emotionally, what is it? Which emotions bring me alive? Connection to the spirit of me. My spiritedness, what is it that really invokes my own spiritedness? Many of you have heard me talk about, what I love to do is to do the 24/7 webcam of Rialto Bridge or, the Grand Canal in Venice. It brings me alive. In the worst situations, I'll just go look at that and I'm alive. I feel alive. And then it regenerates. I just keep going, oh, wow, how much better can it get? Socially, that's the question. How much better can it get? However dire a relationship may be, when you step into this questioning, how much better can it get? You'll always find something that is a gift from a relationship. Even in the most difficult situations, if you've emerged from it, acknowledge that and ask the question, how much better can it get? Aliveness kicks in. It's a wonderful question for kickstarting aliveness. Environmentally, with what kind of environments? I was sharing with Dea, I have an air purifier. And this is my air purifier, by the way, and it has Jago imprinted on it. But it's my air purifier. It's created by a company here. So what they have is they have this little pot, and this is a real plant. And
It's the prettiest air purifier I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's alive. It's got some botanical cells, in which the plant is planted. It has this tiny little humming fan and a particular color of light that, actually amplifies the oxygen that is released by the plants. And all you do is you spray it every 2 or 3 days with just water. And of course, I put the water on my miracle coasters there. So they have that extra charge to them. And that's what happens. Now, my point there is that also is aliveness. Create your own strategies. So environmentally, I've chosen that. Always remember, water is a carrier of the seed of life. Something that is a carrier of seed of life, anything that does not propagate or support life cannot exist in it. And yet, water being a carrier has been contaminated physically with lots of toxins, pesticides, hormones, all kinds of stuff, but also emotionally and mentally. And you can turn that around by you choosing this practice of aliveness. As your water within you starts to feel alive, you're breathing in and out, you're exchanging water, you're spreading those molecules all the way around. That's why when I do my meditations, you've heard me say, breathe in to your heart, love, kindness, and compassion, and breathe out gratitude and peace. Even though you may be breathing out toxins, I'm just saying to you, send it out with gratitude and peace. Because I know the power of this exchange that it is enabled by water. When the planet was created, it wasn't a planet that was rampant with conflict. It just wasn't. You go into the heart of a jungle. There are parts of India that you can go to, there are parts of the world that you can go to where there's only wilderness. And it feels so alive. There isn't conflict. There is no conflict in the air. I mean, for me, my little piece of land, and there you've been there, in Bali, where we used to grow all those 94 different vegetables and fruits and stuff. It was a small piece of land, and different things would grow at different layers. It would be like such a small concentrated space, creating so much food there, because there was aliveness. We allowed these plants to find their own way. When you experience aliveness, the most important thing to remember is it regenerates and you clean out. We used to water this piece of land that we had with our swimming pool water. It was not a natural, it was chlorinated, unfortunately, that water. We would water, there was no water source in this piece of land. And it was rich in all the produce it produced. The watering came from the swimming pool. The soil automatically cleaned it out. You know, and there were people who knew more about how the root structures operate. So there was a way in which, like, we had our composting that we did, and we had a circle, a banana circle, where we created a circle of banana trees. Composting was very close to the banana circle. The water came into that region of the banana circle. Now, bananas trees have a way of spreading. Now, they spread the water, but they also spread the nutrients of the compost across the entire place. The water tables in Bali were very, very low. So we could not rely on the water tables to do the watering. A swimming pool water would be a little bit harsh. So we needed to allow nature, follow nature's way. I went to kindergarten to learn about permaculture in creating that little piece of land. But it was all about experiencing aliveness. The amazing thing was we'd converted that little space into beautiful edible landscapes. Now, beautiful. In a place like that, it can be full of mosquitoes. We would go and harvest our greens every morning. You know, our tomatoes, which were difficult to grow in Bali, our cucumbers. We would go there. And you could even sit there and meditate. Yep. I would often have music circles in that space. We would not get bitten because nature automatically autocorrects itself, however confined a space it may be. That is what you can do. You know, you are 70% water. If you focus your attention on really consciously choosing, how does me experiencing aliveness look like? And do one thing a day, you know, that in itself will transform the water within you, and it becomes a carrier of seed of life. Aliveness regenerates that. The fifth practice is connect, the practice of connect. Connect with water that is inside you and the water that is outside you. You know, this is the water world. Now, you are, like you heard me say so many times today, 70% of you is water inside. And there's at least 70% of the planet that has water in terms of its water bodies. But you're surrounded by molecules of water all the time. And from time to time, there's more water outside when it rains. So connect to water. What do I mean by connect to water? Connect to water, really what you're doing is you're connecting to the flow. So as you connect to water inside you, as you're breathing in and out, you can just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, combine it with a bit of sunbathing if you like. 20 minutes in that case, you know, just where you're allowing the sun to shine over you and you are using your breathing practice as a way of connecting to the water molecules in your body. We have 124 trillion cells. 70% of each of these cells is water. So you can imagine, it's like mind-boggling to even imagine how much flow already exists. When I did this with myself, I mean, just this practice alone, it like elevated my David Hawkins vibrational frequency to 980, which is, it's a particular scale that he's created, 540, many of you know, which connects you to a state of love. This amazing body of work by David Hawkins. So sometimes I do that. So every night I'm actually really up-leveling my frequency. But it was such a phenomenal experience. I didn't need to think of anything. I was just simply breathing in and out and just connecting to the flow that exists in me. And as I connected to the flow that exists in me, remembering that I have 124 trillion cells of these, 70% of these are water, I felt I was surrounded with flow. There was a very specific business situation that required to be addressed at the time. And coming out of it, I just saw clearly that trim tab, 0.01%, that was mine to do. That 0.01% that was mine to action. And the rest would just simply fall in place. Simply by connecting to water inside of me. And then that knowingness, if there's 124 trillion cells of me, and I'm surrounded by water, God knows how many trillions of cells are there around, molecules are there around me of water. Whatever I feel, I can actually transport around me. Now, when I'm in flow, there was a particular situation that I was dealing with this particular partnership in a business, where there were 4 partners completely destroying each other. Like they were each one like threatening to walk out. And we did a beautiful meditative practice. They agreed to do it. I mean, 3 of them had never meditated before, 1 of them had. But he went along with it. And, many of you have done my meditation. They're like a journey, I just talk you through it. And as you're talking through it, part of you just goes into an envisioning. And it was simply connect with water inside and out. All I did was connected them to their own flow. Didn't take that long. It was about 12 minutes long. That's it. They come out of it and they're all flowing. And then they go into, well, why did we get together to create this? Why don't we just see if we are still flowing with that? They use the words. I didn't even say anything. And then it was very clear that one of them absolutely was not flowing with it at this point in time. In which case it was like, okay, so we will need to carve out your exit in such a way that you feel in flow and we feel in flow. That it was like a conscious uncoupling there, connecting with water inside and out. Then they started taking very specific actions. My point here is I'm asking you to do something very, very personal and like sort of, a little bit intangible, but it's very practical. And you feel that flow in you and it transforms everything inside as well as outside. Anything you would like to add there?
For this, yes. Like when we talk about the water inside and out, what I think about is when I take a shower and the water is coming out over me and, it's regenerating me and I have all these thoughts while the water's there. Or if you're swimming in the ocean or you're swimming in a pool, like you can just use that water feeling in your flow and taking it in and out, using all these techniques you're talking about. So,
yummy, right? So yummy.
yeah.
Even just drinking a sip of water becomes such an exquisite exercise.
Yeah, like it's everywhere in our lives. So there's so many opportunities to really bring it in and elevate ourselves.
Yeah.
It's fun.
The 6th practice is about blessing. Bless, it's a bless practice. And, the second one was count your blessings, where you're already counting everything that you're blessed with. Here, you are now stepping into your divinity. And you're using your presence in your divinity to bless this water. And you bless this water in whichever way you wish. You can have your own prayer, you can have words, you can do whatever you want in that respect. By the time you get to the sixth practice, you have connected with these water molecules within you, around you, to such an extent that one word of blessing amplifies instantly. And it multiplies instantly. And you are surrounded with blessings. There's a very beautiful exercise that I think you've done with me. Sarah's here. She's also done this exercise where I connect you to your sphere of influence, where I ask you to spread your arms and then project yourself to the horizon and draw a big circle around you and draw a big circle above and below you as well. And all the beings inside it are your sphere of influence. By the time you get to this point, this practice number 6, you are plugged into that sphere of influence. Your one word of blessing is projected back to you by every being that exists in this sphere of influence. That is your sphere of influence. Like literally, you can feel it by simply blowing a kiss, and you'll feel these kisses coming back at you. You will experience it when you start blessing the water. And it is this blessing of the water that takes it back, straight back to its originating intent, where it becomes the carrier of seed of life. In that case, nothing that does not propagate life can exist in it. So I use my blessing of my food, and I use the same blessing for when I work with water. So I just go, I bless all the beings that have, and all the energies ascended and descended that have brought this water to me. And I bless all the beings in me and the being of me to receive the perfect nurturing this sip of water has to offer. And that's it. What I have found, surprisingly, that I'm actually not drinking too much water anymore. Well, I also eat a lot of food that is rich in water. So I eat very little that is dry. That is also the reason. But this blessing allows your body to really hydrate in a way that you might not have been doing, drinking liters and liters. Not asking you to stop immediately. You will know as you drink your water, a sip at a time. When you bless your water and you're drinking it a sip at a time, that blessing is going all over you, the blessing is traveling through your digestive tract. You can imagine what it's doing to whatever problems you may have in your digestive tract. It's pretty amazing. Have fun with it, create different ways in which you bless water. The 7th practice is a practice of acknowledge and appreciate. Here, you are acknowledging all the contribution that water has made to you. You don't have to do all the 7 practices all the time. You can have a week of simply acknowledge and appreciate. 5 minutes a day. Doesn't need to take more than that. And the next week after that can be bless. You're just going to use bless, the bless practice. And the first time you do, just take your time. Take your time and get to a point where you really have transformed inside and out with the help of water, and you are flowing. Then go to the next practice. Acknowledge and appreciate all the different ways in which water has contributed to enriching your life. Acknowledge and appreciate all the different ways in which water has enriched your mental state. Like literally go do a full spectrum acknowledgement and appreciation. Why not? Again, when I fly, that's why I have great time flying. Now I have this acknowledge and appreciate segment with water. because I want to spread flow in the world. So I have, several couple of hours go by actually. Don't even realize it. So Delhi to Dubai is almost a 3-hour flight. I have my human vibe attunement, counting my blessings, acknowledge and appreciate. I'm in Dubai. So it's pretty amazing. Just go physically, how has it? But what can you acknowledge it for? How can you appreciate its contribution mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, environmentally? Socially, I mean, all these amazing foods that I'm able to create different layers and different varieties of by simply adding water, removing water, whatever it might be. Over to you, Dea. I know we are at time, so it's
Yeah,
time.
we're at time. So, oh my gosh. Well, I had a lot of fun, and my relationship to water is forever elevated and changed. And there's just so many ways we can do it. I'll just go through it. Count your blessings, feel into your flow, the practice of experiencing aliveness with water. Let's see, what's the next one? Connect with water inside and out, and do the blessed practice, and acknowledge and appreciate water. So there's like all these ways we can do it. And I mean, infinite amounts of opportunity to enhance our lives with water. Oh my gosh. So thank you, Mynoo.
Just keep flowing with flow. Water just does that naturally. You live in the water world. That's collaboratively co-create coexistence.
I love that. We're in a water world. It's our water world.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.